Welcome to Beyond the Red Carpet. Today I have a very special guest, my pally, Deana Martin. Welcome, Deana.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And I guess it's sippy poo time. Cheers.
Absolutely. I don't have mine. Oh, darn it.
No,
well, you're
darn.
back east. You're a few hours later than me. So, but let me first introduce you by saying she is an actor, a singer, a complete fabulous entertainer, a writer, best-selling author, and a pilot. So you're a can-do lady. You do everything.
I do, and it's so much fun. I get up, here's my my trick is I get up in the morning and once we get out of bed, I make my bed and then I'm off for the day. You know what? It's like, when your bed is made, everything, it's a better day. And I'm just happy to wake up in the morning, so that's a good thing.
Okay, before we get into your history, I really want to tell people about your weekly TV show, not TV show, but internet show, which is going on 63, 64, 65. For every Friday, you have done a live show you started during COVID. And let me say that your fans, you are worldwide a fabulous entertainer and beloved by everybody. And you're one of the highest rated live shows in the world.
It's unbelievable to me. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. In fact, I have it near your book, but Polestar, yes. They're the ones who do that. And I think, last week they sent me a letter saying that, let's see, I'm in second place in the world. And that my show, we had, 306,610 views for that little Friday show.
Wow. And I'm there every Friday. I'm there every Friday because, you bring a little joy to everybody, especially during these last several months that have been really terrible for everybody.
Right.
But thank you so much.
Well, what happened was I had two, sold out shows at Herb Alpert's Vibrato. And that was for like May 18th and, 19th or something. And then they had to cancel it, right before. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? It was sold out and all the people who were going to come up. And it's such a great cabaret. It's such a great jazz club and everything. And so I said, well, what are we going to do? And Rosario, my fantastic assistant, said, why don't you do a Facebook Live show? I went, what's Facebook Live? and she said, well, you have all your music, because I'm sitting here down in the studio and right behind me is where I, we put a iPhone on a tripod and here it is 3 weeks. Yeah. Yeah. Friday is going to be 64. Unbelievable.
And you're going to keep going. You're going to keep going through this. I know you are.
Yes.
You're okay. Well, okay, let's go back because I know people know your name, Deana, Dean with an A, Martin.com. Your book, your best-selling book, Memories Are Made of This, Deana Martin, excuse me. This is through a daughter's eyes through how you grew up. Yeah. Your dad, who was, oh my gosh, I know everybody tells you they loved him. But we really did.
Yeah.
The King Cool, all that. But you led us into your life growing up. And there's a quote you had, which I really would love for you to expand on, because you said your dad, Dean, wasn't a great father, but was a great man.
Yes. And you know what is, about that, my father, Dean Martin, unbelievable guy. And everybody, of course, he was a great dad. He didn't know about being a father. He was, he wouldn't do homework with me or take me to my, ballet class and drop me, so that's what I mean by that, but you know what, now fathers are more hands-on now today and this time, but I don't even know how he got to do everything that he did, when he was doing it, the nightclub acts, the recordings, the movies. I mean, everything that he did, and play golf every day.
Yes, he did.
He loved playing golf and he was really good at that. So as far as he wasn't a good father, I'm meaning that he wasn't there hands-on doing that, but he was home almost every night for dinner, unless he was in Vegas or, doing something like that. He was a great dad. He was fun to be around. We would play games, but that's different from how, people think of, although, I have to say he was a definitely an Italian father. Okay. Because if we did something wrong, we had respect for him, because if you did something wrong, you were going into the den. Uh-oh, not the den. And I had 6 brothers and sisters are running around saying, uh-oh, you're going into the den. I go, no, not the den. And so they say, okay, Dad's coming home, go sit in the den. So I go sit in the den. He'd walk in. I could hear it's like they used to have taps on the heels of their shoes, so that the shoes wouldn't, and I could hear him walking in the back door, clink, clink, clink. Then the door to the den would open. He'd close the door and he'd go, Deana? Yes. And the tears are coming down. Yes. He says, tell your mom I was really tough on you. Okay. Okay. And he say, so don't be late for dinner anymore. Okay. I love you. And then off he'd go. That was the den. I haven't been late for dinner since that time, which was over 60 years ago, if you know what I mean. It was just, you would come in, you're not going to do that anymore. And we were great kids. We had such respect for him. He never yelled. I mean, it wasn't like that. My dad was one of those guys, and he wouldn't say anything, but when he'd had it up to here, he'd had it up to here. Then it was over. Like what happened with Jerry Lewis.
Yes.
It was over.
So 7 kids in the family, and some of them have been public figures through their careers and whatnot. But I have yet to hear anybody in your family or anybody say a bad or an unkind word about your dad, unlike some of the people today who go on, shall we say, talk shows and disparage their families.
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. Well, I don't think that's right anyways, but I'll tell you what, Francine, we were brought up right. To respect your parents. It's please and thank you. And there was respect. There was no yelling going on at our house. I remember going over to a girlfriend's house and she'd tell her mother to get out. I go, what? It was all about being, teach your children well. And we were brought up with manners and respect and fun, a lot of fun. We had, imagine the people that were over at our house. Uncle Frank Sinatra, Uncle Sammy Davis Jr., Aunt Rosemary Clooney, and, these are people, around my house. And you got Sammy Kahn playing time after time on the piano. And, we were like, wow, we knew how important they were because they were just unbelievable people. But, there is no, well, maybe the other kids, that are, family from, they weren't brought up right, or they had terrible things happen, in my life. And as I say, everything's in my book. Memories are made of this. Dean Martin through his daughter's eyes. There are good times. There are bad times. In fact, I'm going to send you the hardcover. You don't have. Yeah,
Yeah, I have this. I have the paperback, but I've gone through this several times.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. No, it's good. That's when you take to the beach. But when you're brought up right and you have good morals, and as I say, we go through things in our life. I've been through marriages, divorces, deaths, good times and bad times. It was tough for my dad. He worked his little butt off, all those years, and he taught us to work and to strive, to be great and be cool and have a good time while you're doing it. Always, one of the main things he said to me, don't be a jerk. When you go in to read for a part, make it so that everybody likes you. Go in, know the lines, stand on your mark, maybe sing from your heart. And just, if you don't get the job, you didn't get the job, try out for another one. He would teach us that it's a business. And so I think I just had so much respect for him, especially seeing how he worked so hard all of his life and watching him, around the family. And I mean, just, a special, special guy. I think they all were.
Yeah, I second that. I think they were all amazing entertainers too. I recently, not recently, but a few years ago, saw the Rat Pack is Back, and in Las Vegas. It was a different time. It was not politically correct. Were we to go back and just look at what they were doing on stage, we would, not me, but a lot of people would be appalled by what happened with them. But it was a different era, and they just rose to the occasion, and they defined Las Vegas at the time.
They really did. I remember the first time, that I saw them on stage, and it was just, spectacular to me to be sitting in the front row in the Copa room at the Sands Hotel. It'd be dark and everybody's around, and all of a sudden you hear, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Sands Hotel is proud to present the star of our show, direct from the bar, Dean Martin." Then my dad would walk out and everybody would go, "Oh, there he is." And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, there," because I had to look up because we're right ringside. And I look up and he was funny and handsome. And he just made everybody feel good. I felt like I was at home, but there he was. And the people around us, they just couldn't believe it. Because, he didn't sing the song all the way through. He said, "Do you want to hear the whole song? Buy my album." I go, "What?" He had such a good sense of humor and such a sweet way about him. And then, when I would see Sammy Davis Jr. come out on stage with him and Frank Sinatra come out, and they would, kid around with each other, and they were fabulous singers and dancers and actors, and they were funny. And you could tell by watching them, they loved each other. They had so much fun with each other, and they weren't jealous of it. They would let the others shine. It was true. It was a different time. Dad would pick up, Sammy, and, so the whole show.
I remember that.
Yeah, remember that? So it was, but, Sammy loved it and everybody enjoyed it. And I don't think they could get away with, that now, but they were just so cool, and they didn't mean anything, by it. It's just for me to be there and watch them. I said, that's what I want to do, because it was, they made their audience feel like they were just part of the show. In fact, one of my lines, my dad says is, "How'd everybody get in my living room?" It was a comfortable feeling, and that's what I try and bring to my shows.
Yes, well, you do. And I was younger at the time, but I always felt like Dean Martin was just a regular guy, not didn't put on airs. He was just somebody that I wanted to be around. I enjoyed his show too. His Dean Martin TV show, that is hysterical. The thing about that is he never rehearsed. He just got the information the day before and went in. You obviously rehearsed for your show, but that was what made it so much fun. And I know, having watched you for over 60 plus weeks, there are flubs when you do something live, but that's what makes it fun. So when something goes wrong, do you get nervous or just think, "Oh, that's the way it is"?
I just get a little excited. That it's part of it, and that's what I did learn that from my dad, and there were mistakes in his show. He'd say, "Leave it in," or, like one of the gold diggers would come up and sing the wrong line. He said, "That's okay. Don't worry about it." It's not that bad. But it is unbelievable to me that, and I did his show many times, and we were there. Everybody was there the whole week, Monday through, Friday, and we would rehearse, and we knew our skits, and we knew, all the songs. My dad always knew his songs because he had it on a cassette, and he would, play it in his car on the way to play golf, and then play it on the way back. So he knew all the songs. But we would all rehearse, and Lee Hale, who was the music director, he wore a sign on his chest that said Dean. And so he was the one who's, he was the stand-in for my father that whole week. And, maybe he would be dancing with Sid Charisse or singing with Ella Fitzgerald or, doing skits with everybody. But that was Lee Hale. Then Dad would come in on Sunday afternoon after he played a round of golf. Come in, he'd, look at the cue cards. He would go right over with the Les Brown Band of Renown and rehearse all of his songs. He'd go sit in his dressing room and, he would watch, a run through, and he could get up and do that show. Unbelievable to me. Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
That he could do it, and to watch him dancing around with Juliet Prowse, and he had no idea what they were doing, but he just went along with it and made everybody feel so comfortable. That's what he did.
Yes. And you keep saying that you have said in the past that Elvis said that he was definitely the king of cool.
Oh, he said, yeah, when he took my little hand in his and he said, Deana, they call me the king of rock and roll, but your dad is the king of cool. And all I could think, okay, breathe, Deana, you're going to be all right. Elvis thinks your dad's the king of cool, so I mean, that's pretty spectacular to me.
You've also said something that I've wanted to ask you about for a long time. You said Frank Sinatra was the one that really taught you to sing.
He taught me that, the mechanics of singing, as I think about, my dad, and I say, Dad, maybe I should take voice lessons. He'd say, why? You want to sound like everybody else in the choir? Well, no, but to me, I was thinking, okay, my dad just had that beautiful natural voice. He knew how to do it. He could just sing. He could see the sheet music and he would do it. He would know what he was doing and it was easy for him. And it wasn't easy for me. I was kind of singing from my throat. I thought, I don't know how to do it. I didn't have that natural thing. All I needed was a little guidance. And so we were doing the Christmas show with the Martins and the Sinatras. And I'm standing next to Uncle Frank. I said, how do you sing? How do you do it? How do you get that great tone? He said, oh, it's all about the air. And no one had ever told me it was all about the air. I guess my dad just, knew how to breathe. He said, it's all about the air. He said, I take in a big breath and I push from my diaphragm. And I can tell even before a note comes out, if I'm going to be on key or not. I went, really? Does my dad do that? He says, no, your father has no idea what he's doing. He just does it. So, but, and he taught me about phrasing. Frank Sinatra taught me about phrasing. And he also taught me that, if I could be singing this song now in this day, he said, as you grow older with the song, it will mean different things to you. And so, your phrasing will change. And so he taught me all about that, about breathing and singing and phrasing and living with the song and growing up with the song. So pretty amazing. My dad would say, get out there, know all the lines, sing from your heart. And that was Dad, whereas Frank would give me a little more instruction. And,
Interesting.
So boy, was I lucky.
You and the Sinatras and many other families, but specifically everybody associates the Martins and the Sinatras. Was there any push to get you and Frank Jr., or one of your sisters and Frank Jr. together romantically?
But you know what? And I love, we grew up together, and I remember he was always so, Frankie, Jr. was always well-dressed and, well manicured, he was just, that's who he was. He didn't have the sense of humor, really, that Frank had, I don't think, because he's Frank Sinatra Jr., but he was, a great guy. And when we did a couple things together. And I remember one show that I was doing, and it was on the Dean Martin show, and Frankie and we were singing our songs and it was great. And at the end, Dad comes in and sings, he's in between us. And Frankie kisses me and Dad goes, whoa. I mean, it was cute, but it's not like they ever tried to get anybody together. It was just, it was like, he was like my brother and my sister, we were all, we just all grew up together. And, and I miss him, I mean, I really miss Frankie, but I'm good friends with Tina and Nancy.
Yes, but you also have had some unfortunate passings in your own family with your siblings too.
Yes.
So I've got a question. Your dad was he was only, what was he, 70 something when he passed?
I think 78. Yes,
yeah,
he was born in
relatively young.
Yes, it is. But boy, did he have a life. He did everything in those 78 years. Unbelievable. It was probably because of the smoking, when I think about, that. And yeah, I just wish he hadn't done that. I mean, that's one thing. But now, it's different. It's different today. I still can't believe when, people are smoking. I don't want to put people down, but, it's just not good for you. But,
no, it's not. I mean, I think that's what happened also with Sammy Davis Jr. as well, with the throat cancer. And of course, they didn't know really back in that time what major damage it could cause, but unfortunately it did cause a lot. So when was it? I know you've been married a couple of times. When did you marry your current husband, John. Who
My handsome husband, John, 31 years ago. We met on a blind date.
Yes, I wanted you to explain that because that's a cute story.
Yes. And, my sister, Gail, had asked me, she called me on Valentine's Day. She said, would you please come out? I want you to come out tonight. Do me a favor. My husband has a client and, he was showing John real estate in Beverly Hills and all over for it because he was opening up more video stores. And I said, no, I don't want to go. Especially on Valentine's Day, I'm not going to do it. She begged me. She said, please, please, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. So I finally said, okay. I said, should it be, what should I wear? Should it be business attire? What should I do? Or, you want sexy? She said, sexy. I said, okay. So now it's Valentine's Day. And I wore a white leather mini skirt, a white little bustier, and then a red jacket and very high heels. And of course, in 80, 88, 89, it was big hair, and, I show up at La Scala. And, and I sat down La Scala. And so I sat down, with my sister, and Gus was going to bring in John. And then they walked in the front door and my sister kicked me under the table. She said, he's gorgeous. And John came over, sat down. We had the best time ever. We liked the same wine. We had, I think that Penne Pomodoro. And then at the end, we wanted a cappuccino and they didn't, I liked equal. And at that time, places didn't have equal. They just had that pink thing. And, John said, well, you know what? I have some equal in my briefcase. And, I guess it's in Gus's car. And they said, no, they put it in your car. So John and I walk out to my car to get his briefcase and to get the equal. And there was a moon up above and because we had such a good time. And he looked at me and he kissed me. And he said, we should spend the rest of our lives together. And I went, oh. And then sure enough, so a year later we got married. Wow. And he was living in Boca Raton. I was living in Beverly Hills. So it was a lot of travel for him, but he was opening stores, but it was meant to be. And I knew that night and he knew that night. And now we've been together every day, since then. This is, 31 years. And, and Mickey, our son, loves him. And now we have 4 grandchildren. And it's just pretty amazing. And you never know. So go on that blind date if someone asks you. How
did your dad react to John when you took him home to meet him?
He loved him. He really did. Now, John had met my father before because John was a director for Hughes Sports. So they did golf tournaments and, and hockey, whatever he was doing. So he had met my father at one of the opens, one of the US Open, I think the Deana Shore. I think he met my dad then. Now, did he know that, 50 years later, however long ago that was, that he would meet me and, marry Dean Martin's daughter. But Dad really liked him a lot. And they would play pool together. And especially there was one bonding thing. It's about my pasta vajol. When I learned how to make pasta vajol from my grandmother Angela, because I'm Deana Angela, and she taught me how to make it. And that's a fabulous story about making that. But, John would say, what are you doing tonight? And I'd say, I'm making pasta vajol from Dad. He said, no, I'll take it over to him. And then he would sit there and have, the pasta vajol with my father, and they'd play a little pool. But, he really liked him because they have a, sense of humor. They're both the same size, a little over 6 feet, handsome, tall, dark, and handsome. And John's hair
definitely handsome.
There you go.
I think women everywhere swoon when John comes on camera. Yeah,
I think they do. I think they do. What was funny? What you had said that you were in love with my father. You just really adored him. And I cannot tell you how many. There was this one little girl. I got an email from her, and she said, "Oh, my mom wanted to know why I know Dean Martin." She said, "Well, because that was my mom's boyfriend, just growing up, he would come on TV and then the mom would say, that's my boyfriend up there, Dean Martin, so they grow, and I can't tell you how many people say, oh yeah, no, we know my grandmother, that's her, that's, grandma's boyfriend, Dean Martin, because they would play the music all the time. It's so great to hear all of these stories.
Yeah, well, I prefer his music to a lot of the stuff that comes out these days. There's no doubt about that. But let me. We've got just a couple minutes left.
Uh-huh.
Your book is being made into a movie,
Yes. Yes.
and I read that Jennifer Love Hewitt is going to be playing you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's our plan from the very beginning, and Joe Mantegna directing, and Bonnie is going to do the
Screenplay.
script for it.
Mhm.
And so it's been a while. We're taking our time, of course, this past year, what are we going to do? But it's such a good book, and it's such a compelling story, and we really have to do it. It has to be done with respect and with all the, Dean Martin was a very fabulous guy, complicated, the whole family dynamic, everything, from Jerry Lewis up to, the Rat Pack and, all the Matt Helm movies and the Westerns.
You don't have anybody yet pegged to play Dean Martin in the movie.
No, I'm still asking for, I do not want a Dean Martin impersonator. I want a really good actor, someone who, of course can move, I will know when I see him, I'll definitely know. And we will have, casting calls, but people have, mentioned some people, of course. And say, that could be, that might be, but then a lot of people are just very, very wrong about Dean Martin. But it has to be someone who's a really good actor, who can move, who can sing, who has a good sense of humor, to be the king of cool.
Definitely. It has to be somebody very, very special.
Yes.
I definitely want you back because you have some stories that we weren't able to touch on, like Charles Manson.
Oh, right. Oh my God.
We've done some Charles Manson shows on here. But there's a lot of things that we need to get to. So I would love to have you come back later on in the year.
I would love to. I talk too much, sometimes.
Oh,
I get
that's
all
great.
wound up in the stories, and so
that's what we like about you. I mean, all your stories, it's just amazing. I wasn't around the Dean Martin family. I would love to have been one of your friends back then and come over.
You would have loved it. Everybody wanted to come to our house.
I can see why.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, let me remind everybody that you have 5 CDs out, 6 CDs. I don't have the Christmas one here. So some wonderful music. She does some great standards. She's wonderful. And I have this actually is a really cool, it's 8 albums of your dad on one. So
that's fantastic. And now, I also have vinyl.
Yes, I've gotten rid of my vinyl, unfortunately, but yeah.
And this is the one, that I have that fabulous, I do the duet with my dad, right?
Yes.
True Love. Unbelievable, that whole story. So we'll talk about that. But I do have all my things on vinyl also. So
well, I'd love for you. I know everybody would love for you to do some more duets with your dad. That is a highlight. I know that started with Natalie Cole, who was your friend too. That she did it with her dad back in home.
That's right.
And you did it with your dad.
Engineer. Yeah. And so there will be more of that.
Good.
We'll definitely do that. And
definitely looking forward to that.
On the red carpet, I laughed.
There were some funny parts. There's some funny parts, but I mean, that's just my job.
Yeah, I know. It's fascinating, but you're really good at what you do. So
thank you. And you would come back. You'll talk about Davy Jones of the Monkees, and talk about Charles Manson. We have so much,
and the pasta visual.
Yes,
and a sippy poo.
Sippy poos. We're going to get the recipe for that. There's so much more to talk with you, but thank you so much for joining us today, and we will definitely have you back. So for everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when we take another look beyond the red carpet. Thanks.
Thank you, Pally. Bye-bye. Thank you.